Let me tell you a story about a turnaround that we did a few years ago that was really interesting. This particular company was, I call, a stalled company. They had a great technology. It was a web-based order management system, tops in the industry. They had grown to maybe $10 or $15 million in sales, and then things just leveled off. And they went through 2 or 3 VPs of sales, absolutely no increase in sales. People would sell add-ons to additional customers, but that was really it. They were making their money on maintenance and on consulting. So what did they do? They hired a sales force, $1 million plus players from i2, from Oracle, from SAP. And they brought these people in because, not knowing any better, they said, well, if people can sell big deals for Oracle and for SAP, they can sell big deals for me. Seems like it would be reasonable. In fact, it isn't. In their case, I think, really points it out. At the end of their first year with this new sales force, they had 10 people in the United States. Not one person, not one, sold a single new account. So that's 10 people with $100,000, $120,000 base salaries. That's 10 people flying around on airplanes. That's 10 people eating 3 meals a day and drinks every night. That's 10 people staying in hotels 4, 5, 6 nights a week sometimes. That's 10 people going back and forth to sales meetings. Those 10 people were millions of dollars. Now, I came on late in the year, and I came in to fill in a spot for one of those 10 people who left the company. Now, my background was that I had done turnarounds. I had done a lot of no-name technology deals where we were able to take companies that nobody ever heard of, and we were able to move them to $100+ million valuations. So what did I do? Well, I certainly didn't want to spend my time doing what these people were doing, which was sitting around at planning meetings all day, meeting with the marketing department, talking about messaging. First thing that I did was I said, give me every lead that's come into this territory, no matter how trivial, even something that came in on the web over the past 5 years. And the marketing department said, well, no, we'll cull them down because it's way too many. It's 2,000. Because we gave away coffee mugs and people just fill out forms. So, well, humor me. Let me have the information and let me play with it. So what I did was I took the 2,000 leads, and when I say leads, these were just names and emails and phone numbers. And I started calling them up. Well, at least a third of them were no longer there and the information was bad. Probably another third I had a very, very difficult time getting a hold of. But what about the third? Well, every morning at 6 o'clock, 6:30, 7 o'clock, I would start calling, and I was going across time zones. I was catching people just as they came in the office. I was doing this every morning, week after week after week. Why? Because if I'm selling a product that has a 12 to 18 month sales cycle or lead time, and I have people who've shown some level of interest, as rudimentary as this may have been 2 years ago, well, heck, they might be ready to buy now. So one morning, second cup of coffee, 7 o'clock in the morning, I pick up the phone and I dial some low-level person who would want a coffee mug. And my question is binary. I'm not trying to sell on the phone. My question is this. We sent you some information. I want to get you off the spam list. Is this kind of technology something that's going to be on your dance card this year? Because if it's not, I'm taking you off the list and we're not going to bother you anymore. Invariably, people would go, no, I'm not interested. We're not really doing that. I wanted a coffee mug. Great, great. So I just knocked those names off. But this morning, I called one person who said, well, I've never heard of your company. But yes, it's really big time on our dance card. As a matter of fact, we're just starting an evaluation now, and we've got a budget to buy a system in the next 12 months. And this was a major United States government organization with whom we all do business every single day. So he was a low-level guy, so I'm not going to spend my time talking to him. But what did I learn? I learned that here was a customer looking for me. Nobody looked at this lead. Nobody did anything with this lead for 2 years. All the salespeople were saying, oh, these leads are crummy, because when they call, people would go, yeah, we just wanted a coffee mug. They didn't realize that you age your leads, you nurture your leads, you play with these things over time, and then you start to see where there's smoke, and that leads you to fire, and then you start committing resources where you see there is really a hot opportunity. Well, I certainly wasn't going to spend my time talking to this low-level guy, but he had given me exactly the piece of information that I wanted. They're going to do something this year. So what did I do? Because it was such a major account, I knew that one of the big consulting companies had a huge presence in there. So when I checked around, I found out that Accenture had 70, 80, 90 million dollars a year business at this account. So I called the Accenture partner. I said, look, you don't know me. This is what I'm going to do with this account. I just wanted to call you as a courtesy because I knew you'd want to know I was doing this in the account, and if there's anything I can do to collaborate with you, I would be happy to do it. He said, Jay, nobody's ever called me. Whenever sales reps call me, they call me to bring me into a deal. You're telling me about a deal at my biggest client, my only client. And yeah, next time you're in Washington, D.C., come on by and see me. Well, 2 weeks later, I went to Washington, D.C. We had lunch together, and he said, how can I help you with this account? I don't even know your company. So I told him what we did. He gave a little bit of due diligence and called me back and said, I didn't even know about this opportunity, but we'd love to help any way we can, and I would really appreciate it if you wouldn't bring in any other consulting resources other than our own or your companies, but none of our competitors. I said, of course, we would not do that. Well, there must have been 4 or 5 times in his deal, which lasted 8 months, when my part of the deal got tangled up somehow. And every time I would call him up and say, I got a little issue here, wanted to get your advice on it. Next day, the problem would just get solved, and that would be the end of it. This is the kind of a strategy that a franchise rep uses. Now, at the end of this 2-year process, every one of the 10 sales reps from SAP, i2, Oracle, every one of those was still at 0, had not sold a single thing. My sales were in excess of $20 million. I did 80% of the business of the entire company, one person. And once I started finding big deals, all of the Oracle VPs and all the SAP VPs, or formerly SAP VPs, they were all over these deals. Oh, they just loved it. They knew how to do that. But what didn't they know? They didn't know how to get a deal started without the phone ringing.